Can you can't get around the lights, can you? Hello? Alright, thanks for stopping by. Hope I remember how to do this. Hi all, it's Kelly from LOCH BRIAR Knits coming to you for episode 44 of the LOCH BRIAR Knits podcast. This is a knitting podcast. And yeah, so let's get right down to it. Thanks to all returning viewers and subscribers. So glad that you guys came back to check out another episode. And for all new viewers and subscribers, welcome. Hope you like the podcast and continue to come on back. You know, tell all your friends, spread the word. I'm going to get one thing out of the way right now. I know this looks really weird. This is my new sling. Not really. For any new viewers, I had rotator cuff surgery 2.5 weeks ago. So I've been in a sling 24/7 for the last 2.5 weeks. And I went and visited my surgeon for a follow-up appointment yesterday. And I still have to wear the sling for another week, but I'm allowed to take my arm out of it because we're trying to like stretch this joint out. And what you'll see is, I don't know if you can see it. I'll show you. I'll stand. So when I stand up and I lift my arms up, this one, because it's been like in a crossbody position for the last 2.5 weeks, is now sort of stuck in this position. So I need to try to be able to kind of do this with it, but I can only go to about there. So one of my projects for the next couple of weeks is trying to get this joint or these muscles here stretched out again so that I can kind of do this. So this sort of helps with that. So I figured it looks a little silly, but it might be a little more functional while I do the podcast. So I'm just going to have this here for the next, hour or whatever while I do this. So that just, if you're wondering why I have a towel tucked under my armpit. So yeah, so I'll talk about the whole surgery thing at the end in case none of you are interested in that. And I just want to talk to myself about it. If you do, I'll just put that in the little section at the end where I talk about miscellany. So yeah, so let's get into knitting. So here's the deal. I didn't podcast not last week, but the week before, which would have been my normal podcast. I had thought that I might do it kind of the following week, but it was still really hard to, shower, make myself presentable, get dressed in anything that, looked normal. So I thought, I'm just going to give it until, this would be my normal podcast day. I'm just kind of 2 weeks late on it. So, plus I had nothing to really show for it because I couldn't knit at that point. I can do some knitting now. I can't knit for very long, but I can do it for a little bit, and then if it starts to irritate my shoulder too much, just stop and I take a break. But I have been doing some other things, and I do actually have a finished object, and I've got a whip. I was working on one whip, so there's not a whole lot of like new knitting content to tell you, but I did start designing, which was on my agenda for next year, but I thought, I had an idea in my head, and I thought, I can't do anything as far, a whole lot of knitting, so I might as well just kind of jot down what my plans were for the design I had in mind, and just play around with it. So I'll show you some of that. And what else? Oh, I did get some acquisitions, mostly books. And yeah, because no yarn. I don't have any yarn. And I think that's about it. I was going to try to do a shop update before the surgery, but there was so much stuff I actually had to get done prior to the surgery, just as far as like making a bunch of food that I could freeze and then be able to take out and eat as part of my, like for lunches, because my husband would be at work, so I'd have to make my own lunches. And, you know, I had to get a bunch of housework done that I wasn't going to be able to do, you know, afterwards. Shucks. You know, just like things like that. And then, you know, I think my husband and I went out that weekend just to like do a couple things while I was still mobile. I got some Christmas presents wrapped because, you know, I figure might as well do it while I can. I got all of my Christmas shopping done. So it was just like this mad rush, I think, to try to kind of get everything done and out of the way that I needed to before I wasn't able to. So yeah, so that's kind of what we got on tap. So there is some stuff. I don't know if this is going to be as long as the regular podcast, but we'll see. And oh, can we just check out this mug? Okay, so prior to the surgery, there were a few things I had to pick up, like a really gushy pillow, and I've had to sleep. I can't sleep in my bed because laying on my back is actually really painful, and so I don't sleep. And I tried kind of sleeping on an incline in the bed. That wasn't working. And I found I had to keep shifting my position like every 5 or 10 minutes, trying to find a position that was comfortable, which I know is keeping my husband awake. So, although good man that he is, was not complaining. But I just thought, you know, everybody who's had the surgery seems to say like sleeping in a recliner was the only comfortable way they could sleep. And I knew that getting a good night's sleep was going to be part of the healing process. So I thought, all right, we have a small recliner in our living room. So I thought, I'm just going to try it. So I tried it, and it was so comfortable compared to the bed, and I had a really good night's sleep. So for the past 2.5 weeks, I've been sleeping in the recliner. I am going to try sleeping in the bed this weekend and just see if I can find a comfortable position, because it feels really weird sleeping in the recliner when my husband's upstairs in bed. I don't know, it's just weird. Anyway, back to the knitting content. This is a knitting podcast. Okay, so anyway, yeah, back to the mug. Segues, tangents, galore. So this is my one and only Christmas decoration that's out at this point. But I had to pick up a few things, like a comfy pillow, and I picked up a really nice blanket that I could use when I was in the recliner, blah, blah, blah. So we're going through Marshall's, and I'm with my mom and my sister because we'd taken my mom out for her birthday that day. So we went to Moxie's to get kind of a lunch, and then we just went and did some shopping in the Dartmouth Crossing area, which has all these shops. So we're at Marshall's, and next thing I know, my sister, who is like the worst enabler in the world, shoves this in my hand because she said she can't buy another mug, so I have to, because that's what I needed. But oh my god, look at it, people. It's gigantic, and it holds my eggnog lattes, because eggnog's out now, and I have been living off eggnog lattes. So it's but it's also really good for like a huge mug of tea, which in the afternoons, I like a monstrous mug of tea. And also, it's gray and red, and tell me how much I love gray and red. So, you know, so I started drinking out of this as soon as I got home, which I think was like November 3rd, as soon as I brought it home. My husband doesn't like seeing any Christmas decorations until like the 1st of December. So he was like, you can't be drinking out of that. It's not Christmas. So I had to break it to him that this mug is going to be in rotation probably 365 days a year because it's an awesome mug. So, and I'm just drinking my usual lemon thriller tea. Nothing new or exciting. Same old. So yeah, let's get into it. Oh yeah, also where to find me. I always forget that part. I'm just going to put it in the drop down below, and but you can find me most often on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active. Itchy nose. But on Instagram, it's not Loch BRIAR Knits. It's Kelly L. Boyce because I use that kind of as for my knitting, but also for my writing, which I haven't actually been doing since I injured my shoulder. But in the new year, I've got like hopefully 3 books to get out next year, which is my other job, aside from the hand-dyed yarns, and the day job is I'm a published author, so I have some books I need to get out. So yeah, where to find me? So Kelly L. Boyce on Instagram. Loch BRIAR Knits is my Etsy shop for hand-dyed yarns, and the Ravelry group for the podcast is Loch BRIAR Knits. And that's kind of the main ones. There's also a Loch BRIAR Knits Facebook page, which is mostly posts from Instagram that also go there, if that's your preferred method of interweb stuff. Can you tell I haven't been to work for 2.5 weeks? My brain is starting to go to mush. And the other thing, what else? Anything else? I think that's everything. Oh, if you need to email me, you can either email me, direct message me on Instagram, kellylboyce@gmail.com, or on Ravelry. So I usually check them all regularly, so you know, that's how you can find me. So if you have any questions, anything on there. So let's get down to business. Finished objects. Check it out. These are the second last of my Christmas sock knitting, gift knitting. So these are for my nephew. This is knit out of Evie Knits self-striping sock yarn in what colorway? I have I bought 2 skeins because I originally bought this for me, and then I thought my nephew might like this color as well, so I bought a second skein because I didn't want to give mine up. So it's called Bailey the Tabby Cat. So that's it's like grays and blues, and it looks like navy. It says, I think it says black, white, gray, white. But honestly, that looks like navy, not black to me. But either way, it's gorgeous. When it knits up, it looks a little more black. But when I look at the skein, it looks kind of more navy. Anyway, so that's it. That's just my regular old vanilla sock. And you know what the thing is these would fit me too. A kid better like them. So, yeah, so this is just Evie Knits. I love her yarn. I have a metric shit ton of her yarn. And I love it. I've never knit something in her yarn that I didn't like. So this is my finished object. This one of them, I had finished before my operation, and then I managed to get down to here. Like I managed to get the gusset, the heel flap and gusset done. So I just had kind of this left to do. So I just kind of slowly picked away at it. I would literally do like maybe 4 rows and then stop and just give my arm or shoulder a break. And you know what I realized too is that I'd had these on my Ravelry project page, all of the socks that I was knitting, and then I wrapped the socks and realized I didn't take finished object pictures of them. So I'm going to try to get them from the kids. If they bring them up to my parents' house, if that's what they wear on Christmas Day, then I'll get pictures. And if not, then, you know, it's socks. But they look awesome. I love these socks. I can't wait to knit my own pair. So yeah, so those are my one and only finished objects. Finished object, singular. But given the fact that I really couldn't knit much, I'm happy that I got these done. So the next thing, I suppose. Okay, hang on. We're reaching. By the way, I went. So just total segue, segue/tangent. I've been, for the past week, if the weather is half decent, which we've had some, like, fair bit of snow. There's not a lot of snow on the ground because we would get, like, it snowed heavy at one point and then it sort of switched over to rain, so it washed a lot of it away. But the last couple of days we've been getting, like, little flurries, so there's, like, you know, that much on the ground maybe. But it was yesterday was it was like a beautiful sunny day, and I thought, oh, I just want to get out and get some fresh air because I don't think I'd been out for a couple of days, and you just get shack wacky, right? Plus, I figure it's kind of good to get up, moving, get my circulation going instead of sitting on my butt on the couch, you know, watching endless episodes of Nashville and whatever else I'm binge watching on Netflix. So I got all bundled up. It takes me about 3 times longer to to get dressed to go out for a walk than it does to actually do the walk. But whatever. So I got all bundled up, and what I do is I have either like a circle around the block, which takes like about 15 minutes, or there's a figure 8 one I can do that takes about 30 minutes. So I had planned on doing the 30-minute walk yesterday because I thought it's beautiful out. I don't mind the cold. I find it really invigorating, which is a good thing because I don't think I mentioned, for any new viewers, I live in Nova Scotia, Canada. We are right on the Atlantic Ocean. The Atlantic Ocean is probably about maybe a 5-minute drive from my house, so depending on how fast you go. So, anyway, so, you know, it gets colder because also Canada. So, anyway, I like the cold. My husband thinks anything under 20 degrees Celsius is an abomination. And I'm sort of the other way around. I find anything over 25 degrees Celsius an abomination. And anything, you know, so I like the negative numbers too. But yesterday I went out. I thought I'm gonna go out for a walk, just, you know, stretch my legs, get some fresh air, get the circulation going. I walked about 2 minutes from the house, and the wind chill was like minus, I think it was minus 23, minus 24 with the wind chill. It was so cold, like it was bitter. And I had my slouch hat on, literally like down to here. I had my Phoebe scarf wrapped all around, and it was up to here. So there was just like this much of me showing. But it was so cold. It was just bitter, bitter cold. So I got kind of the top of the hill, which on our street, and then there's a little slope to get to the bottom. But as I was going down the slope, I couldn't feel the wind, and I was like, oh, this is beautiful. This is like fantastic. And then I got onto the other main street where I have to kind of loop up and around. And the wind was just like blasting me in the face, and I thought, okay, this is going to be the 15-minute walk today. So I got up and then I went down the hill, got the mail, and came home. But I was just like, I had all the knitwear on, and I was still freezing cold. But today it doesn't look like it's too windy out, although I did hear it's supposed to have a wind chill of -21, so it may be a short walk today. And when I walk, I have to put my sling on the outside, so I wear like my down vest, and then I wear like a heavy sweater underneath, and then I have to put my sling over my down vest, and I strap myself in really good for that one, just because when you're walking you bounce a little, and that can kind of hurt. Anyway, I can't even remember where I was going with that. Tangent. Works in progress. I started my husband's Christmas sock. So, I'm knitting my husband's Christmas socks out of Log House Cottage yarn. So here's their my glasses. What? Yeah, this is it. This is Log House Cottage yarns. Simply Speckled Dark. And Squishy Sock 8-ply Extra Fine Merino Nylon 80/20 blend. So here it is. So it's got blues, greens. The greens aren't showing up very well on here. Let's see if I can find a spot. There. So yeah, the greens aren't really showing up in here, but everything you see that looks like this tone is a green. So we've got green, vibrant blues, reds, and then all on a brown base, which is masculine enough for him and interesting enough for me to knit. Because after the whole sweater thing, yeah, I'm not doing that again with the plain old boring. Yeah, you can hardly see the green on the screen here, but oh, it's showing up a little now. There we go. But I'm actually really enjoying the knit. So I cast on, for him, I cast on 64, and I think I'm using a 2.25. Yeah, so US size 1, 2.25 millimeter. Chagu, just doing the magic loop, and just my regular old vanilla sock. So this is the first one. That's how much I've gotten done. Again, I'm just kind of slowly picking away at it. And as my shoulder starts to heal, I can kind of go longer spurts, and I can do a little bit of computer work, but I find with the computer work I'm reaching a bit too far, and that really starts to aggravate that. So I have another 2.5 weeks before I go back to work, the office job. I think it's going to be the new year before I actually can start hand dyeing again, which is driving me crazy because I have a colorway series that I want to do in the new year, and I'm so excited about it, and I just want to get started, but you know, I can't lift, or I can't really, yeah. So there's still actually skeins left in my shop. So if anybody's interested, you can pop on over there and check those out. And then hopefully by sometime in January, I will have a good old update. Actually, I probably won't have a huge update in January. I might just do kind of a smaller one so I don't overdo it. Because I'll probably be rehabbing until end of March, April. So, but, so that is the only work in progress I've been working on. But I am hoping now that I can knit a little bit more to dive back into my Veronica sweater by, oops, Shannon, I want to say Shannon Cook. Yeah, Shannon Cook. Okay, sorry. Sprinkling. So this is my Veronica sweater. I really hoped to actually have this knit up, which was a pipe dream. I don't know why I thought that was going to happen. But I did start it, and I'm knitting this out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes Superwash, and this is the worsted weight. Honestly, every time, Kelly. Garnet Heather. So that's the. I love this color. Like, it's just such a rich color, and the dog hair just really sets it off nicely. A little bit of golden retriever mixed in for extra warmth. So, ta-da! I'll pull this out here. All right. So how far am I? Okay. And I'm going to tell you right now, this thing's got an egregious amount of dog hair on it. So, so this is where I am thus far, and I think it goes this way. Yeah, so this is the band here. I think this is, no, maybe it's this. It's kind of knit in a wonky way. Not that it doesn't make sense. It makes sense when I'm doing it, but when you try to explain where you are, or you stop knitting for any amount of time and then try to remember where you were. But I think I must knit this from the bottom up. And then maybe this is the side. I don't know. I don't know, people. And I haven't actually had it out since pre-surgery, so oh my god, look at the dog hair. It's like he rolled on it. But I was ready to podcast. But it's a fast knit where it's worsted weight, and it's going to be so super comfy. I may actually take this and keep it at the office because our office is always so cold. Even in the summertime, the office is cold. But I'm hoping to get a little bit of work done on this week. I think I'm at the point now where I'm casting on. I have to cast on stitches, if I recall. Yeah. Oh, I'm doing the back cast on, so I have to do a cable cast on. Yeah, so what I was doing previously, I've got the collar shaping, and now I'm about to do the back cast on. It's one of these things that I'm just kind of following the directions and going along with what it says and not worrying too much about trying to look at it and figure out what section I'm in. Because I've heard several people say when you're knitting it up, it's sort of, it'll kind of take some weird shapes, and that's fine. So just keep going and it'll all make sense in the end. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm hoping to get a little work done on that. And that is in my Needles Craft bag, which has got London and Paris. So yeah, big old bag. And the other thing I have on my needles is my Bird of a Feather shawl by Andrea Mowry, which is my first time working with mohair. So I didn't actually pull this bad boy out at all because I thought working with with the mohair might have been a little more than I was ready for, but I am getting itchy to pull it back out now. So this is where I'm at, which is, I think, the exact same place. I'm trying to, I can't hold it up with my other arm, so bear with me. So this is what I've got so far, and I'm about to start the next mohair section. So yeah, so I really actually like this. I like the mohair. It's so soft, and the mohair I got from Crooked Kitchen Yarn in her Selkie colorway. So that's that right there. I love the colors in this. I bought 2 skeins, and then when I was cleaning out, I have like kind of one of those, it's shaped like a chest, but one of those like decorative boxes that you get from Michael's upstairs in the bedroom. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I like a while ago stored some of my yarns in there. Couldn't remember what they were. So I flipped it open. There's actually 2 skeins of mohair in there from like years ago. So I dug that out. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's kind of like a bright, what color would you call it? Like a bright spring green, maybe? So I don't know what I'll use it for. But this is the other, the Harriet Fine. Do I have my thing in here? No. So this is Juniper Moon Harriet Fine in the, I can't remember if this had, it's like just like a pale dove gray, but I don't know if it had a colorway name or not, and I don't have the band in here because it's, I had actually caked it up for another project and then ended up, I think, frogging that project. So those are the 2 are the 3 things that I have on my needles right now. But, so speaking of projects on the needles, I frogged a project. For anybody who's been with me since the beginning, you may vaguely remember I was originally working on the Simple Lines wrap, and I don't even have the pattern here, so I can't remember who did that, who designed that. I'm totally blanking. But if you go on my Ravelry page, I haven't marked it as frogged yet, but I frogged it. I frogged it because I've been working on that, I think, for, sorry, and when I say working on it, I mean not working on it. I cast it on like, I don't know, 2-3 years ago. And I was picking away at it, and then I just stopped, and I just never picked it back up. The thing was, I had used the Juniper Moon Harriet Fine in this gorgeous blue. I think it's Baha'i Beach. Glasses. Yeah, in their Baha'i Beach colorway. So it's all kind of curly. I may take it out and soak it, and then just to get the curl out of it, but I don't need to do that right now because I'm not using it. The thing was, I had 3 skeins of this, which for me in this yarn is enough for a sweater, and I thought that just seems like a better use of the yarn. So, and I absolutely love this color. Like, I love this color on me. I love to look at it. It's beautiful. So this is 75% alpaca, 25% nylon. So yeah, so I did frog that project, and you know what? It felt good. It felt good to frog it. So I don't know which sweater I'm going to cast on for this, but I will tell you in the queue. Oops. Ow. Okay. So graceful. In the queue, I have another Andrea Mowry pattern. I have been wanting to knit this sweater so badly. I keep seeing other people wearing it. The Weekender by Andrea Mowry. And I absolutely love the style of it. It is just so right up my alley. I have the yarn for it. It's the Persimmon Heather from Knit Picks. And I gotta say, like, Knit Picks have great yarn for a really affordable price. So if you want to get like a sweater's quantity of yarn, it's so much more affordable than, you know, always buying hand-dyed, like indie hand-dyed yarns. And that's not to say, because I am an indie dyer, but I also understand that if you want to be knitting a lot of sweaters, it can get expensive to always do indie dyed yarn. So then I find Knit Picks offer a really good yarn alternative if you want to kind of mix it up and do it that way. So, because and they always have these sales on, and you get free shipping if you buy over, I think, $75, which US, but, so, yeah, that is next to my queue, and I'm probably going to cast that on before I finish my Veronica, just because I feel like it. I have no other reason. So that's definitely next in my queue, but I think I'll probably wait a few weeks, just give my shoulder a little more time. Oops. Okay. So that's one thing that's in the queue. The other thing I have in the queue is my design. Ah. So I was playing around, and I was trying to think. I was kind of originally thinking of doing an asymmetrical, but when I was thinking of the pattern and how I wanted to lay it out, I realized that this was going to be a much better shape, and I actually love this shape. It's very similar to the Phoebe scarf that's knit by Jose Backwin from You and I Knits. And I love the shape of it. I've knit, like, if any watchers of the podcast have been around for the past year, I think I've knit 3 versions of her scarf pattern. So I haven't figured out yet if this is going to be more scarf width or wrap width. But it's going to take probably 3. I'm going to design it with 3 main colors, and which will kind of alternate and fade one into the other. And it's called Sycamore, so it's gonna have like lace sections and then stocking net and garter sections. So it'll kind of keep alternating to keep it interesting. But what I've done, I know some of the stitch patterns that I want to use in it, so I kicked up just some of my some of the hand-dyed minis that I had done, and I think I want to design it. I mean, when you knit it, you can knit it in any colors you want, but for me, it's sort of it's a sycamore not based on the tree, but it's got sort of like some more outdoorsy motifs, I guess. So I want to knit up some swatches of the different lace patterns that I'm looking to put in it, because I want to make sure that the lace patterns are user-friendly regardless of where you're at as far as comfortable knitting with lace. Like, if you're a lace aficionado, you'll have no problem with it, but if you're kind of newer to lace, I still want it to be user-friendly in that sense, because I don't, like, when I see really complicated lace patterns in something, I gotta think, oh wow, I know I'm gonna have to really commit myself to concentrating on lace patterns. I don't memorize lace patterns very well, so kind of the more basic, simpler lace patterns, for me, if I'm doing a big project, is more ideal. So I'm hoping to kind of still make it interesting without it being too complicated, if that makes sense. So that's kind of what I was playing around with, and I want to I want to start knitting it up, but I'm going to do little swatches of the stitch patterns that I want to have in it, just to kind of lay them out and get a sense of how they blend together and whatnot. Yeah, so that's kind of what I was working on. And I literally had to like do this over 3 days because I can't write very much with this hand, but I had to use my right hand because I thought if I tried doing that in my left hand, I'm not going to know what I wrote. So it was like a 3-day process just to do that. It was sad. So that's one thing I've been working on, and I'm actually really excited about it, but I also am thinking about doing a triangular shawl, but I'm just going to kind of concentrate on that one for right now. I also have a couple of hat patterns in my, like, I don't know, my design brain just seemed to explode recently. And I honestly haven't designed anything in about, oh my god, I want to say like 8 years, maybe 10. 8. Maybe 8. And even then it was always kind of like smaller projects that I designed, and I just designed them for myself, and then I would knit the stuff up and then sell like the finished project. So anyway, it could turn out to be a complete disaster. I'll, you know, once I kind of got the pattern written up and I'm ready for test knitters, I'll put a call out for anybody who wants to test knit. And I've never actually written a pattern out before for like somebody else to be following it. I've made my own hand scratches on the ones I was doing, but so yeah, that's gonna be that's gonna be fun. I should apologize to the test knitters now. I may have just scared you all away. So I did, like I said, I did do some acquisitions, but it's all books. So I did get the newest edition of Pom Pom, which is guest edited by Nora Gahan. I think I'm saying her name right. Nora Gahan? Gahan? Which they have a lot of beautiful patterns in here. This is definitely going to be one I make, which is Christabel by Andrea Rangel. So that's, I definitely want to make that one. There's a lot of patterns in here that are beautiful, but they're not my style. There's like a lot of kind of, reminds me of Victorian kind of style. So, like kind of the cover one, it's got more puffy sleeves and yeah, just sort of more puffier sleeves and things like that. I'm a small person, like I'm 5'2", and I find anything that's sort of too puffy or large sort of overpowers my shape, and I kind of get lost in it. So I like things, and I think just my own personal style, I like things that are a little more maybe classic structure to it, which some people say boring, but whatever. That's my style. But they have some really great things. Like this shawl is really beautiful. I'm trying to find, where was the other? Ooh, my hair. Oops, I think I just passed it. These, I love. Like, I love these. Yeah, so there's, and they had like, you know, really great, as always, like great articles and little write-ups and stuff like that. So yeah, even though there's not like a lot of stuff in here that I would knit, I always enjoy the magazine. I find, like, just from an artistic standpoint, it's just a beautiful magazine to look at. So I got that, and then the one I was super waiting for was Knits About Winter by Emily Foden. So ever since I can't remember when it was, maybe a year ago, I read an article on Viola Yarns, which is her hand-dyed yarn business, and how she had moved to the town of, I think it's Mooresburg? I forget. It's in Ontario. And I'm guessing Northern Ontario from the winters. Mooresburg. So it's in Mooresburg. But oh my God, people, if you've not gotten this book, it's gotten a word. It's gotten even a word. Yeah, I'm a writer. If you have not purchased this book, definitely get it. There is so much in here. I think I want to knit everything. All of the socks. Ow. Like, just, there's every, like, especially if you're anywhere that has cooler weather, everything in here just looks so cozy, so amazing. Like, I just want to, that's a soiree sweater that was in Pom Pom, I believe, originally, and then she's made some changes and updates to it. Mittens that actually have mitten liners. That's not the liners, but I think the liners are like changeable mitten liners. Seriously? Who even thought of that? I didn't even know that was a thing. And now I can't wait to knit some. So, but oh my God, everything in here is just, here's the one I desperately want to knit. Burn. Oh my God. So honestly, I cannot recommend this highly enough. Like, everything in it is so beautiful, and the photography and just the write-ups by Emily are beautiful. Seriously, I want to, because I like the cold weather. My husband would not be caught dead there, and he's from Ontario, so I don't know how he doesn't like the cold. I mean, it's fine if you don't like super, well below freezing cold. That I can understand, but he doesn't even like it when it drops below 20. So my other one that I got was, it's again Oregon. It's the Knitted Cable Source Book. So this actually just arrived as I was coming downstairs to podcast. So I haven't had a chance to flip through it yet, but other than to do like a quick flip like this, but it looks so good. I love cables, so I'm hoping that I can kind of get some inspiration from this to do some cabling designs, because it's just, oh my God. And there's patterns in here too, so like, look at that. Oh, I love cables. I love cables. So that arrived with, well, with this Story Trumps structure. So that's for my writing, not for knitting. So that's what we got for acquisitions, and I think that's everything. I'm trying to think. Am I leaving anything out? Yeah, no, I guess that's it. So no shop update, obviously, because. But yeah, so life stuff. So here, for any of you interested, is the surgery story. So we had to drive actually outside of the city for me to get my surgery. We had to drive, I think it's about an hour, not even, to Windsor, which is outside of Halifax, to get my surgery, because my surgeon does surgery in both hospitals. So we went up the night before and we stayed over in a hotel, which is like literally 2 minutes from the hospital. Went over in the morning. My surgery was booked for 8:30. I cannot rave enough about the staff at the Windsor Hospital. The nurses, the anesthesiologist, my surgeon is just like a god, honestly. Everybody who found out that who my surgeon was just like, how did you get in with him? Like, he's not taking in new patients, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I just went to the ER and they gave me a referral. But everybody who found out who I was getting, including the nurse that gave me the referral, said he's the best. And I haven't had a whole lot of surgery. This is pretty much it for me, and hopefully will be my last. But from my first meet through my surgery to my follow-up appointment, like everything, I could not have been more impressed with the man. So he did a fantastic job. So we basically got there and they got me all ready. They walked me through kind of how things were going to go. They knocked me out cold. And here's what I remember, because I've only been under anesthetic one other time in my life for just a quick, I don't know, it was like a 10-minute procedure or something. And so they're like, we're just going to, and they just, put the stuff in my arm, hooked me up, and they said, we're just going to talk to you. We're not going to make you, count back to 10. She said, we're just going to have a conversation. So they were just asking me some questions about myself. And I don't really remember anything after that. Next thing I know, I woke up in recovery, feeling like I had just had the best sleep of my life. Like, seriously, next time I have insomnia, I'm gonna see if I can get a surgery. Because that was just, wow, I had such a good sleep. So they had put, I guess, nerve blockers or freezing, whatever, in my shoulder. So when I woke up from the surgery, I had this big, huge pad of like gauze and everything. Like literally, I looked like a linebacker. It was up about like that far off my shoulder. So a linebacker / Quasimodo, because this was normal size, so it was kind of like. So they, once I was ready to kind of get up and move, they have kind of the primary recovery where you come out of the anesthetic, and once you're sort of out of the anesthetic, they move you over to the secondary recovery area where your family, significant other, blah, 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 whoever's driving you home can come and, come in and see how you're doing. So, they got me dressed up in the clothes I was going to be wearing to leave. And then they moved me over to the secondary area and gave me some cookies, which were really good, and ginger ale, and, you had your choice of beverages. And I felt fine. Like, I had no nausea from the anesthetic at all, none, which was great. And then, so we were there for maybe 45 minutes, and they ran through the kind of my post-op stuff, what I needed to know, blah, 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 blah. And then they sent me on my way. So that we had to drive home, which we were originally a little worried about because, it's the highways aren't always the greatest this time of the year. And we were worried about, like, the bumping. Is it really going to irritate me? But honestly, those nerve blockers, I felt fantastic the day of the surgery. We got home. Surgery was, like, at 8:30. I think I was home by maybe 12:30? No, that can't be right. No, you know what? I think it was 1 o'clock by the time we got home. So I felt fine that day. Like, I felt fantastic. And they send you home. I had Celebrex that I had to take for 10 days for inflammation. They gave me Dilaudid. I think I had 20 Dilaudid pills for the pain, and then extra strength Tylenol. So for pain as well. So I was allowed to take 2 of the Dilaudid 2 times a day, so 4 total. And I actually I didn't really feel those did anything. And the first day, like the day of the surgery, I didn't even feel like I needed them, but I took 2 before I went to bed, because I thought it would help. They're supposed to make you kind of drowsy, so I thought that might help me sleep for the first night. And then I slept pretty good that night. I woke up the day after the surgery, and the nerve blockers had worn off. I was in so much pain. It was insane. Like I really just wanted to hack the entire right side of my body off and be done with it. So I took all of the Dilaudid I was allowed that day. I took all of the extra strength Tylenol I was allowed that day, and then the Celebrex for the inflammation. I ice packed it, which when you've got the big gauze on it, it's really hard to actually feel any of the ice, the cold seeping through all of that. But it was awful. Like, I was in so much pain. I thought, how am I going to get through like weeks of this? I woke up the next day, I felt like a new person. I didn't feel, there was still pain, but it wasn't anything like the second day. And I was like, oh my God, thank God. So it's gotten better. Like, the only time I would say I'm really in pain is when I first wake up in the morning, and even now I wouldn't really call it pain. I would just call it kind of discomfort, where my arm gets really stiff. But yeah, like if I move it the wrong way, then yeah, ouch. But then it sort of recedes. So it's mostly just kind of a general discomfort than pain. So I didn't even end up using all of the Dilaudid, which, you know, my thought was, given the addictive properties of it, that I didn't want to use it unless I absolutely had to. So I think by the 4th day, I just stopped taking it, and I used extra strength Tylenol if I needed it. So yeah, so then I have to do these pendulum swings where you just sort of like bend over and your arm is hanging, and you have to kind of just let the weight of your arm do these circular motions. And I had to start doing those 24 hours after the surgery. So the first time I did it, I was like, this is about how much I could do. So now I can do like a much wider. So it's definitely improving. So right now, what I need to work on, I have to keep doing the pendulums, but I have to work on also getting this here stretched out, which is basically just, I have to kind of hold my arm like this and press it out. So I can't actually get it to move that way on its own. So I'm just sort of putting it against a door frame and then moving my body and keeping the arm there and stretching that out a little and holding it, you know, for a bit, and then releasing and then doing some repetitions of that. So I can't actually start physio, I think, until, I think it's around the 6-week mark, which will be, I think, about the time my next appointment is, which is on the 20th. And then I'm hoping I'm also allowed to drive at that point, but I don't know, because it's going to depend on how much mobility I get back in this arm at that point, which is motivation. So I start back to work on the December 10th. So my husband actually works like just kind of a few buildings over from me, so we'll just drive in and drive home together. So that's really my life for the past 2.5 weeks, has just been trying to get this as healed as possible without overdoing it. Trying not to go completely shack-wacky, which actually hasn't been too bad. I'm really good at entertaining myself for the most part, and once I was allowed to knit a little bit, that kind of helped fill the gaps between the Netflix binging. So I've been binging, trying to finish up Nashville, which is my guilty pleasure, and then I'm going to move on to catching up on Outlander, which I think I'm 3 seasons behind on, so I guess I'm catching up to do there. I've done some reading, I read a book called Sold on Monday, and I'm completely blanking on the author, but it was a really good book. And then I started, after I finished that one, I started the Court of Thorn and Roses series. So at first I was like, yeah, I like this. And then I was kind of like, do I like it? Is it really catching me? But then I realized when I do sit down to read it, I'm like, okay, I'll just read a chapter. And then I'm like, oh, what happens next in the next chapter? And I'm 3 chapters later. So obviously I am enjoying it. And I'm enjoying it now more as I'm starting to get into the story and the characters. There's a few things where I'm like, okay, let's just move on. Let's, so I do find sometimes I'm skipping paragraphs or sort of speed reading past them just to kind of get the story going a little more. But that's probably just me being impatient. So. And that's about it. That's all that's been going on. So this actually went on longer because I kept going off on tangents, and I think this is probably almost more of a knitting / post-surgery rotator cuff thing. Podcast, so whatever. Sorry. Anyway, I am going to be doing Vlogmas this year. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be doing it every single day, but I may do what I did last year where I sort of compiled a few days. Just kind of depends, because if I don't have a whole lot going on, then trying to find something to vlog every single day feels like it gets a little forced or repetitive. So I may do it like every couple of days or every few days, whatever, and then do my regular podcast in there as well. So anyway, thank you everybody for showing up, and to all the new viewers, thank you very much for checking the podcast out. I hope you enjoyed it. I think I'm hitting the right side here. If you want to know when the next podcasts come out, just click the subscribe button. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. It really helps me get the word out. And I think that's everything. So thanks so much for stopping by to all you viewers, new and old. And hopefully next episode I'll have a little more knitting content for you. And until then, happy knitting. I'll see you later.